my son was supposed to be born at 11:44. Well, not supposed to be. She was like pulling almost like ready to come out. It was ready to come out. It was 11:44. I was 11:43 and I was like, come on, like just wait one more minute before your head comes out. So it'll be 11:44. And then he came out at 11:43 and I saw 11:44, but then, the midwife said it's 11:43 and I was like, ah. I
Oh
was
my
so
God.
upset. But
So,
now he's dead and that's like my special number, 11:43, because it's
okay, it's so funny that you're saying that right now. Let me tell you why real quick. Because my mom and I have this, she's always given me signs and symbols through people in everyday life. And one of her signs to me is 143. Back in the 90s when we were apart, we had pagers back then. And so she used to page me 143, 143 as I love you. And so at first, when you said 11:44, I was waiting for you to say 43, and then it came out. And so I'm like, thank you, Mom, for allowing all of this experience right now. And that's how it works. It's so beautiful that you also have your own imprint with your son and with that number.
Yeah, and I learned that if you assign any kind of number or any symbol to your dead family, they can communicate a lot easier when you're distracted or when you're having a tough moment. I'm very lucky because I am a prophetic dreamer and I got to know about my son's death in advance. I got to see him after he died, like immediately. He guided me like every night through the journey of the grieving all the way to having my sons now. Like he was the one who told me to have the boys and he kept showing me the boy. He only showed me one. He didn't tell me there were two. Um, I say that um with a lot of no, he tricked me. Anyway, so he was like, you got to do this, he guided me, but I was so lucky to have these experiences, but I know so many people don't have these kind of experiences. So I always say, assign them a number, give them a bird, pick a hummingbird or, a butterfly or something, and then just watch how much they're willing to show up for you.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a great way of looking at it too. I came from it in a little bit different of a perspective because I would be seeing these symbols and it took my human self a minute to go, why do I keep seeing this white butterfly every day? And why is it touching my cheek? And why is it all around me? And then once I was like, duh, mom, okay, I get this. Thank you so much. It became one of her main symbols to me that I see every day. Doesn't matter what's going on outside, I'll see it, and every day of my life I see that white butterfly. So um I just love how you get the language. I love how you understand how the synchronicity works, and that takes a lot of awareness and a lot of connection to do so.
yeah, and you got to let go of doubt. I remember one time I was just questioning myself and I thought, God, okay, so he started like jumping in my body a lot too, where I would just get these 20-minute goosebumps, which was very it was intense. You couldn't deny it. And I would say, if buzz harder if the answer is yes, and like decrease your buzzing if it's a no. So we would have like a yes or no thing for a long time. Um, and I think a year into it, I was like, what if I'm just imagining all this? What if it's just the madness of a grieving father? And he died with his mom, which was my best friend. And I remember they would come to me differently and I would feel them very differently in my body. And one day I said, what if I'm just imagining it? And I remember that night I was laying down and I saw this figure standing over my bed. It was just a dark image. And I thought it was my best friend's wife, my son's other mom. And I thought, is it you? And then I realized who it was. And then she just jumped into my body. And then like my hands felt like they were doing this. And I looked at them and they were still. And it
Wow.
was like I lost my vision for a second. Like all this stuff came and it was just so intense. And I'm like, okay, all right, you're real. I get it. you know, and it's so powerful. And I think so many people that are grieving have such a hard time believing that there is something out there.
Our imagination is the playing ground for spirit. It's just the reality of it. So a lot of times when someone's first getting into it, they have to surrender to, am I making it up in my head? That's the ego trying to convince you of that. But what's really interesting about that is the times where you have the memory come to you and it's like just the perfect moment, and you hear their laughter and it's something that just leaves this beautiful imprint on your heart. yes, your rational self can say, oh, that was just a memory that I was just having, randomly. But your all knowing self understands that that's how they communicate with us. So I always try to encourage people when you have even the memory pop up, or you are, in line somewhere and you have to do a double take because the person in front of you looks like, your deceased loved one. Um, it's really interesting what happens when you just give yourself to that way of thinking, and then it becomes constant for you. Then you've tapped into something huge, and every day that you decide to tap into it, you'll never feel alone because you know that you're always being guided.
And they show up everywhere. They show up in the movies, the grocery store, the liquor store. I mean, everywhere. Karaoke. I'm like anywhere. There's like, as long as you have, you know, these things that remind you of them and you know what it is that's exclusively theirs, you'll know when they show up because they never stop showing up. And it's been 9 years. It'll be 9 years in April that I lost my son and his mom, my best friend Trisha, and they have not stopped. My son Sky stopped for a little bit, but he shows up in my dreams now and he's older. He's like 30 something when he shows up. And I went and saw John Edwards for my friend because she was like, let's go. And then he picked me out and he was like, your son. Well, he said, it was a car accident and there was two people. And I said, me. He's like, well, your son just wants to let you know that when he comes to you, he comes as an older person. And I was like, I know, thank you. I'm like, give me something I don't know. But
That's always the best part of it, is just the validation from it all.
it does really help
Yeah.
when um we come to people like you and we get validated. So if somebody does want to come see you, what kind of things do you do? Do you do private readings, group readings, or what do you do? Or what is it actually that you do in terms of connecting people to their loved ones?
Yeah, so you can call them readings. I call them readings or channelings rather, and I do them just about I most days of the week I do them actually. I might have off like a Sunday type of thing. And I also travel the country as well, and I do audience readings and I do teachings around the country as well. So a lot of different possibilities to see me. And yeah, it's a great honor to connect with spirit and to be that messenger every day.
Do people go to your website? What's your website?
Website is just my name. It's billphillips.com. On there, they will see a sign up page that talks about the waiting list and how to get in touch with me and all that stuff as well. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Well, make sure to subscribe if you like what you saw and see you in the next video.